Hello, it's Teresa here. I hope you're all well and you all had a good Christmas. This is for anyone who is feeling the January blues, a bit down in the mouth, a bit depressed, a bit off colour. Christmas is wonderful, but it always seems to leave people a bit blue during January. So this is a very quick project. We're going to use some really nice springtime colours to make us think of spring and sunnier times ahead. So not going to say too much about it. As I say, it will be very quick. It's going to be a bag, and the reason for a bag is that we're going to make it spring-like, so we can put our packed lunches in there when we go for our nice long walks, or we can put our sun cream in there on a hot day, so we can just think ahead and get past these really grey, drab looking days of January. And I'm looking out there at the moment and it's only, oh my goodness, it's only 4 o'clock, it's almost dark, it's grey, it's dismal and it's cold as well. So hopefully this will cheer us all up and put us in a great frame of mind. So to all of those who have contacted me and said, you know, things aren't looking so good, don't worry, we all go through that. We all experience those times, especially this time of the year when antidepressants are back on everyone's prescriptions again, or so it seems. So don't worry, it will pass. It's not going to last forever. Meanwhile, let's do some mindful slow stitching, some mindful sewing, and before you know it, you'll be using your really nice summer spring bag. So let's not waste any more time. We'll crack on, and I guarantee within a couple of hours you'll have a really nice bag. Okay, so here we go. So this tote bag is going to be made up differently. It's still going to be made of patchwork pieces, just using 2 pieces of fabric of different colours. The design's the same on each, but one has a white background and the other has a black background. So I've cut as many squares as I need, and that was 15. And I have actually started putting them together, and I have one here. I just wanted to see what the effect would be by using the 2 pieces, the dark and the light pieces, and I've covered them with net, either black net or white net. On this white one here, I've put some black net. I've left that one has white net, this has black, and I'm just going to alternate them and with no sequence, just as they come out of the bag or the stack. I'm going to do that on my strips. Now, how I did this, took one of my squares, and I'll take a black one so you can see it on the screen. So I put the black lace, sorry, not lace, the black tulle net over the top. Can you just see that? That is now over the top there. Stretched it out, and then I've taken another square. While I'm stretching that with one hand, taken another square, and this happens to be white, making sure the grain, this has a very distinctive grain along it, making sure the grain is going the same way on each piece. And I just put this along there, stretching it out as I go, and then tacking it down. Now you will need to tack this, so the tacking, just the big stitches, it doesn't have to be neat because these will come out. Just hold it down with a little oversew stitch there, and that one's done. So the next one will be done the same. Now if you stretch it out enough, not too tight that you're going to make this come over, just stretch it out enough. You don't need to worry about catching the top or the bottom. I've got that round the wrong way there, haven't I? So the top or the bottom, and those will be picked up and tacked with the next row, the row that comes after. So we'll take another one. I'll go for green this time, the green, and I'm going to stretch this out and then place the green, making sure the green is going the right way, the same way as these, and I'm just going to place that over to capture the net between the two squares. That would have been easier if I'd knotted that first. And then once again, just tack. You might want to pin. It will probably be a lot easier to pin this before tacking. I think my fingers have just got used to doing all sorts of weird and wonderful stretchy things throughout the years with the sewing. Right, I also like making bread, so I imagine that helps as well, that kneading. So can you see that now? That is secure. There we go. There, that piece of net. Don't worry about any edges that are hanging off. They will all be trimmed away later. And now I should just carry on doing this until I get the rows that I want, and I think it will probably be 3 rows. Well, this is looking good at 1. Now that's white, and I'm actually going to put the white over the white square, and it just mutes it slightly, so that will go over there, straight over. See, the white is a bit firmer than the black. The black is actually, the black tulle I have there is from my daughter-in-law's dress that she had when she was about 18, and it was very, very lovely, and it had an underskirt of silk and lace, and this tulle gathered up to make the silk stand out. And she gave it to me some time ago, and she gave me some wonderful clothes to chop up, and oh gosh, and I just couldn't bear to do it. I really couldn't, because I could imagine her in these clothes, and oh, I just felt emotional every time I thought of chopping up her clothes. But she's since had a baby, my beautiful grandson, but anyway, to get back to her dresses, now she's a mother, and she's still very fashionable, but her style has changed and the length has changed and everything of her clothes, so I don't mind chopping it up. So that is where this lace comes from, not the lace, this tulle. I'm now going to carry on. This one, I'm looking for cotton. I had some thread here. I saved my bits of cotton, and it looks as if I've run out. So anyway, this one will go there without net. So some of them will appear brighter. The ones that appear brighter are the ones without net. So as soon as I've done that, I will then machine sew them together. Right, these have all been sewn now. I've got 4 strips, but I'm not quite sure if I need 4. I think 4 might be 1 too many. Yeah, I'm going to start with 3 and then see how it goes from there. So I'm going to start with this one. I've already removed the tacking. I've trimmed some of these. I must have forgotten this one, missed that one. Now just open these up. You could do this with an iron. It's a lot easier to do it with an iron, to press them, but because I've got net, this synthetic tulle here, I'm a bit wary of burning it. So I'm going to do that by just with my fingers, just pressing it open like that. And then I'm going to take one of these and do exactly the same. Take another and then do the same. Once again, tacking's been removed, and just open this one out as well, just so they lie flat. Makes sewing easier, and it stops any bumps as well poking through the lining. Now these have been opened, And what I shall do now is just decide, make sure not too many of the same are together. Those are, aren't they? They're the same, but if I twist those around, they're going to be the same. Hey ho, it doesn't really matter, it's patchwork, isn't it? Right, so right sides together, match the seams on these. So you see, I'm going to match the two seams and pin that, and that should give us a nice seam right the way through when the strips are joined. It doesn't always work out that way, and sometimes they're still staggered, but you know what, it doesn't matter. I don't think these things really matter unless you're after perfection for a specific reason, an exam or an exhibition, or you have a remit where you have to have these things very precise. Then I just go for the enjoyment factor. Just enjoy it. Don't get too bent up or caught up with matching these seams and making sure this is exact, because you'll lose the pleasure and the enjoyment from it. Well, that's how I feel anyway. Now, once I've pinned these, and I can see already that some of these don't match, once I've pinned these, I'm going to machine sewn right the way across, and I'll do this from there right the way down, and I'll attach the third row as well, and then I'll press it, and then we'll see whether I need the fourth row or not. So I think that the net's added a little bit of depth to it all. It's just taken quite a lot of the brightness away. Actually, it's still a very bright piece of patchwork, but I just love, as you all know, I just love using net and vegetable bags and anything with like a grid on it, really. So that is where I am at the moment. Now the next thing, I'm just going to show you the back. When you do yours, try to keep your seams open. I ironed all mine open. There are probably a couple of mistakes there, but all open. So these little ones are open. There's a little mistake there where it hasn't opened, but that's not going to make much difference. But all the others have all been opened, and the two long seams as well. So that is the back. I don't normally show the back of my things because they're always so messy. I think, oh my goodness, no, I can't do that. But anyway, so now this is the top piece, which will go along here. I mean, your bag could be made up entirely of patchwork. I mean, if you turned it that way, you see how long that is. We'd only need another row to give you a nice size bag, but I'm going to add a top and add a bottom. These seem to be very, very fashionable at the moment. So right sides together, okay, and I'm just going to pin this along here, keeping it nice and straight, and then I'm going to machine sew it all the way along, and I'll press that seam open as well. Now, as you can probably see, or maybe not on there, I have interfaced this. Now, it's entirely up to you whether you interface or not. This fabric is so strong that didn't need interfacing at all, but this is a different fabric completely, and it's quite flimsy. It's very pretty, needed interfacing, and this is a heavy interfacing as well. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to sew along there, and then we'll have another look and decide if it's long enough or if I need a bottom on it. I have a feeling this could be long enough just with that. I think this is actually the other one. I'm doing these together. I'm doing the back and the front at the same time. So if you think, oh, that looks different, that's not the same top. No, it probably isn't. It's probably the other side of the bag. But never mind, as long as they both get done, you can do them at the same time or one after the other. But I've decided this time to do them one after the other. Now, that is how it's looking. I'm going to make that Just move that back a bit. There, that is how it's looking. Right, it isn't quite the length of a regular tote bag, so I think I might add a strip of fabric along here. Maybe the same as this, maybe not. It's short. This is a really nice size, this one. Yes, it's short, 3 inches along there, and these are, well actually these are 3 inches once the seam allowance is taken off. They're 3 inches, so I could actually get another row of these squares along there to give it that length. Oh, that's strange, that is strange. Or I could give it more. I think I'm going to give it a strip along the end. So I'm going to go off now and I'm going to do that. I'm going to find some fabric and I will add the strip at the bottom the same way that I've added the strip at the top. Okay? And that won't take very long. And not that time matters on the video, does it? I always talk as if you're sitting there waiting for me to do it. So anyway, I found some fabric and I've added it along here. Once again, I've interfaced it all the way here. I just need to trim that off along there, and then that will be finished and ready for some top stitching. Okay, so that is one of the sides. Now the next thing I need to think about is how I'm going to top stitch it, if I'm going to do it by hand or do it by machine. So I should go off now and spend some time thinking about that. But that's it. Straps, sew it together, and we have ourselves a tote bag. But to me, it still looks plain. Not enough embellishment on it. So I went through my stash and I found some of this fabric. Now it's actually a bright green and it isn't coming out on the screen. But look at these wonderful flowers. So I thought these could be just the thing I need to put on the front. So I cut some out, interfaced them, nicely interfaced there, and all I did was cut them out as you've just seen on the fabric. And I think I'm going to place these now. This is likely to get lost on the back because there's a lot of white here, so I'm going to have to be careful where I do place them. They need to be on a certain amount of dark fabric so they can be seen. Maybe that big one there. I've got 3 and these are really gorgeous. I might use these again for something else. So maybe there, looking at the screen, yeah, that you can see these. I like the way this goes over onto the dark fabric there. I might turn that around because there's a straight edge there. I might pop that there. So I think that you can see that one there. Maybe that one needs to be on the dark bit here. Somehow like this, and then that small one over there, that small one's likely to get lost in the background, but that's okay. I wonder if I should have cut one more actually, maybe. Right, if I stay away from the seam allowance, so these can come in, stay away from that seam allowance and this one here, so they could come round about there. There. I'll pin these into place and then I'll attach them, and I will probably slow stitch all the way around these shapes to hold them in place. Oh, I think that looks better. That looks better, although I've still got that problem of that. I know what I'll do. I'll turn that shape around there because it's flat. It's where it was attached to the sample header. I'll turn that round there. Oh yeah, I think that's better. And I might use a dark thread for the slow stitch, so then it will show up a bit better. So that is my next task, to pin and then slow stitch all the way around the shapes. Then I might look at these squares. Maybe these squares might need a bit of stitching as well. Anyway, I will start with this one and take it from there. I've slow stitched the 3 flowers down, and oh my goodness, it was difficult. It took such a long time and hurt my fingers and my thumb. It's just so thick because I was going through the seams and then through the interfacing and this fabric. And yeah, it's quite surprising. It was thick and quite a bit painful, but anyway, I think the result's quite nice. That's the big one. I'm just going to move this up slowly so you can see the effect. It's a very subtle effect, but it does break up all the squares. So I'm calling that finished now. That one's finished. Now I'm not decorating the back. That's the front. Here's the back. Mainly because I don't think it needs it anyway. But I really don't feel like doing this again. Now the next thing to do, I'm going to put these right sides to right side and then sew them around 3 edges. Right, I'm just going to make this smaller now so you can see how I'm going to do this. And we have done this before. I'll make that, just going to make that, move that up a little bit. So what have we got? We've got the tops, right. So these are the tops, right side to right side, and I will pin that all the way around, matching the seams as I go. So opening these out and matching the seams, and I'm going to do this through on the 3 sides, and of course leave the top open. So each seam that I get to will be opened and pinned. Now if they don't fit, it really doesn't matter. No one's going to be that bothered, are they, if the seams aren't aligned. So we're going to do that all the way round, down the bottom as well, match the bottom, but leave the top open. So we have a bag there. Now at the same time I'm going to do the lining. Now the lining is the width of the bag here. That's the width by twice the length. Okay, so what I will do is just fold this in half. Now I'm only doing it this way because I have fabric long enough, but if I didn't, I'd cut 2 pieces of fabric the same size as the bag, and I'll do the same with this. I'll pin down this side all the way and machine sew right the way down there, but on the second side I will pin but leave a gap of about 4 or 5 inches, enough for you to get your hand in and pull the bag out. So on one side you're going to machine sew all the way down, but on the second side you're going to leave a gap mid-seam, enough to get your hand in. Now if you're going to do this in 2 pieces, of course you'll sew the bottom as well. So with 2 pieces of fabric you'll go down one side along the bottom, part way up this side, leave a gap, and then continue to the end there. But if you're doing what I've done, folding the fabric, you'll just do the one complete side and then half, maybe half of this, leave the gap, and then do the other half. Okay, so I'm going off to do that now, and then it'll be time to do the straps as well. So the bags have been made up. This is the lining, that bag there for the lining, with the gap in the side, like so. Oh, I might have made that a bit too small actually, I might have to make that bigger. And this is the actual bag, the outside of the bag, which I won't pull through yet, because before I do that, before I assemble the lining in the bag, I need to make the straps or the handles. Now I've cut 2 pieces of fabric 22 inches long. That is 22 inches long here, and I've cut a piece of interfacing which is 2 inches wide. Now this, as I said, this is 22 inches long and it is 4 inches wide. So the strip, just to go over that, the strip is 4 inches wide and 22 inches long, with a little piece of interfacing inside in the middle. So we have an inch, oops daisy, couldn't see that. So we have an inch either side of the interfacing. You can see that the interfacing is in the center with an inch either side. So then I have folded those inches in either side, fold the inches in, and I've pressed them. So all the way along the edges, the inch edges, have been folded in and pressed, and then the whole thing has been folded in half. So now this is an inch wide. Okay, there we go, look, and it comes out at an inch wide. Now I've made 2, and I'm going to top stitch these right the way down the ends. I'll probably do it either side as well. Okay, now the straps have been made, and I've just trimmed the ends just to get the raggy bits off, and I did top stitch either side as well, lovely and strong. Now they've been done, I'm going to pull the bag into the right side, but trim off the corners first. Makes it a lot easier to make a neat corner. Now at this stage you could give it a box. You could give it a little bit of a box corner, a box bottom if you like, and that is quite easy, and that is just by folding that up and sewing across the end. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to pull it in. So start with that corner, push that corner out as much as you can. I'm just going to use these scissors very, very carefully. Push that one in, and then we'll do this one as well. So finger there and push it through. Just push that corner out. Lovely. And then we'll bring it right the way through. And yeah, oh yeah, that looks quite good. Oh gosh, yeah. Oh, I'm quite pleased I went to the effort now of putting the flowers on, and I know they were difficult and it did take quite a while, but I'm pleased I went to that trouble. So there we are, there is the bag. If I can just make that a little bit higher, let's see if I can get that all in. It's a bit difficult to get that all in. So that is the front. Perhaps if I turn it that way on its side. So we have the top here, the flowers and the patchwork peeping through, and the bottom here. So the next thing to do is attach the lining. Oh no, next thing to do is attach the straps. Now I'm going back as usual to the bag that I've been using as a pattern or a template, and using that. Now these straps, I believe, if I can remember, are 4 inches, about 4 inches from the end. Now I'm going to put a pin here. So that is where the strap ends there, and let's get the one here. And that is where it ends there. So I'm just going to measure to make sure that that is the same distance for there, and then so we want 4 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, that line there. Oh, that's better. There. So that's 1. And then turn it over and then just match those to the ones I've just put down. And that way we know that they are in the same position. So that's there. Right, make sure that isn't twisted. Bring that round to there. So the straps are now in place. We can now pop this into the lining. So we want right sides together, right sides of the bag to right sides of the lining. So all we're going to do is pop this bag inside the lining. You see that? Right sides together. So it's the wrong side of the lining that is showing now. Just give it a shake. Line them up a little bit. Lovely. Now we want to line up these seams here, and that way we know the lining won't twist and it's where it should be because we've lined it up now. So pin this all the way round, and I do suggest that you pin it all the way round because the lining is likely to walk, especially as this is a satinized lining, so it's silky and it's soft and it's just right for walking. So I'm going to open the seams up the other side, line those up, and then carry on pinning all the way round. Well, I've got to open that up a bit better. Now, as soon as I've done that, taking care to pop the handles in, but make sure they're out of reach of the sewing machine. So, as soon as I've pinned this all the way around, I'm going to machine sew right the way around the edge. Don't leave any gaps. We don't need any gaps because we've left the gap for pulling through in the side of the lining. So that needs to be machine sewn now all the way round. And then we'll pull it through, and I do believe we'll have finished. So the big moment now to see how it actually looks. I'm just trimming off a little bit of raggy edges here. Not that it makes any difference because it will be inside the lining. Right, so there we have it, lining in, sewn all the way around. The gap in the side of the lining, which I'm now going to pull the bag through. Oh, and that was big enough. Ooh, fingers crossed. Always a dodgy old moment, this. Right, I'm just going to pop that in so we can get an initial effect. Aha! Oh yes, yeah, there we go. Not finished yet, not finished yet. I need to sew up the gap in the side and then top stitch around the edge. But this is just to give you a rough idea at the moment of how it's shaping up. Handles there, lining. Yeah, that looks nice. That looks very nice. So what I'll do now, I will close up the gap here in the side, and that will, I'll just put my fingers in there, pull it, and then it closes up naturally on the seam. So I'll just put some pins in there. Oh, I know I keep saying it, but I really must get rid of these pins. They're just no good anymore. It's really blunt. Right, So that is the next thing now, to sew up that, and then to top stitch all the way around here, around the top, just to keep the lining in place so it doesn't start creeping up like this. So I will pin that all the way around the edge. You can actually tack that if you want to. If you feel happier tacking, then by all means do that. And if that lining starts to walk while I'm machine sewing it, I will stop and tack it. So I'm going to carry on with this now. So the next time you see it, it should be top stitched along the edge here, and the lining will be sewn up, the gap in the lining, and it will be finished, fingers crossed. And I'm quite pleased with this one. I mean, it's all patterned, and it's I suppose a bit on the messy side really, but it's colourful, and it's the colours and the patterns I just love. And that's a nice thing about patchwork, isn't it? You can use all the little bits that you have. These squares could just be bits of pieces that you have in your rag bag, no bigger than that. Just sew some together and you've got yourself a bag. But anyway, I'll carry on. Right, so it's all finished now. I put some books in here just to give it a little bit of shape. I'll take those out. I did have to tack it around the top because the lining kept walking. It kept riding up and it began to look really messy, so I took it out and I tacked, and it looks so much neater. And that's all the way around the back as well. I sewed up the gap in the lining, and I did that with a row of straight stitch and then a row of zigzag over the top, just to make doubly sure that it's strong. So that is now finished, all done and dusted. I don't think there's anything else to say about it. I do hope you enjoyed this. I know it's very, very quick. I just thought it might cheer everyone up to think of spring and the wonderful colours of spring, while using up all your little bits of scraps and your odds and ends and the applique that we do and the slow stitch. So I'll get back to you on Facebook, and I'm about to do that now actually. And well, as I say, I do hope you enjoy it, and I hope you have fun doing it too. Very, very quickly. If you don't put the applique on there, you could do this in, I reckon, 2 to 3 hours. Alright, so good luck with that, and don't forget to post your pictures on Facebook. Okay, so I'll speak to you shortly. Take care.